Hey guys, my name is Mark. I'm one of the mechanics here for FLX in our headquarters down in San Diego, California. A little about myself. I love to ride bikes, specifically mountain biking. I've been doing it for a couple years. I want to say 3 to 4 years now. I got into it just for the pure exercise of things, and at the same time I was also really into roller coasters. So I thought maybe mountain biking would definitely be the way to go. From there, I mountain bike all over San Diego, from as east as Alpine and Laguna, as north as LA, and as down south as very close to Tijuana. So I've been all over the place. So for this Monday, I want to dedicate the video to Rotor Rub, how to find out if you have it, and how to essentially resolve the issue. Now, when it comes to Rotor Rub on e-bikes, it's a bit hard to distinguish if you have it, and a lot of the time, even if you do, it's not really a big deal. And it's hard to distinguish because the sound of the motor kind of overpowers the sound of Rotor Rub. So Rotor Rub is when your pads rub against the rotor, and it's a metal on metal sound. It almost kind of sounds like sandpaper scraping against each other. It's either caused by the caliper not being aligned with the rotor correctly, or the rotor is actually somewhat warped. As I said previously, a lot of the time it's not a huge deal, and it's more of an annoyance than anything. Now, should you stop riding? Not necessarily, depending on how bad the Rotor Rub is. A lot of the time, unless it's incredibly noticeable and you can physically feel it stop you as you ride, then that's when I don't really suggest riding for too long. Riding like that won't be a huge deal. I mean, the worst that will happen is you're just wearing out your pads prematurely, but that's about it. You're not going to really damage anything significant. Now, another question is, will it fix itself if I do nothing? Depending on how bad the rub is, a lot of the time it will. But if the rotor is pretty warped, you either one, have to replace that rotor, or two, depending on the damage, the rotor may actually be able to be trued. And trued as in straightened up, get that bend it back into place, stuff like that. A lot of the time I don't really recommend doing it yourself. Truing the rotor is something that someone with experience should be doing. When it comes to Rotor Rub, there are a ton of videos on YouTube, for example, that kind of go over the do's and don'ts on fixing it. Our friends at Park Tool, their video on hydraulic brake rub is incredibly detailed, and I highly suggest giving that a watch as well. It educates riders on how it's caused and multiple ways of fixing the issue. Now, when it comes to beginning the procedure, one thing I do highly recommend is to wear gloves, or make sure that your hands are as clean as possible. If you contaminate the pads or the rotor in any way, that can lead to very annoying squeaking, very high-pitched bird chirping noises, and that will also reduce the performance of your brakes as well. So, like I said, make sure your hands are as clean as possible. That, or wear gloves. So doing this procedure incorrectly may result into louder annoyances, but it may result into also having to replace your rotors and pads. So if you do end up getting your pads or rotors contaminated, I can't stress this enough, make sure that your hands or the gloves you're using are as clean as possible. So how do you know if you've done it correctly? Well, all you have to do is, one, make sure that the bike is powered off so the motor doesn't kick in for whatever reason, and two, just spin the wheel. If you don't hear any metal to metal sound, or that sound of sandpaper rubbing against each other, you should be good. Again, my name is Mark, and that's it for today's Mechanic Monday.